Shalom, friends around the world. My name is Chaim Mailspin. I'm a Galilean here in the north of Israel.
And hello, I am Gary from St. Louis, Missouri.
We're working together.
Yes.
For God's purposes and His prophetic plan. You know, some 2,000 years ago, in a little town in Israel called Bethlehem, in Hebrew, Bethlehem is Beit Lechem, the house of bread. And that's the very place where God decided to send the bread of life here into this world. And 2,000 years later, in the Master Yeshua's neighborhood, nestled in the heart of the Galilee, we are in a place called Beit Zerah, the house of seed. That's where God has chosen to send produce, vegetables, to feed the hungry here in Israel.
So the first time I came to Israel, I knew I was coming to the land flowing with milk and honey, and I was coming to the land blessed by God. But when I got here and I got away from the tourist attractions, I noticed that not everybody living here felt that blessing. That I realized that right here in Israel, there are people that are hurting and hungry. And I asked God, what can I do to help?
Well, right here we are in Aliyah Return Center. This is a old boarding school, which is being repurposed right now to serve, well, all these 20 or so buildings here are being renovated, and at this time we're housing over 100 people, and we are going to continue to renovate the buildings and provide more housing to new immigrants, to, well, lone soldiers, even orphans, even widows. We are going to continue to provide them a place of rest, respite, rejuvenation as they make their new prophetic home in the promised land.
While I was here, I would get up in the morning and go and walk and pray, and I would notice these greenhouses, the orchards that were run down, that were neglected. And I would say to myself, I would say, God, why is somebody not here growing produce and giving it to the hungry here in Israel? And I'm reading specifically in Romans 15, 23 through 29, where Paul explains that it was our obligation as Christians, Gentile Christians, to feed the hungry in Jerusalem. Paul said that he had taken up a collection from the Macedonians and the Achaeans, and that they were happy to give because they owed it to them. For if the Gentiles, and this is in Paul's words, for if the Gentiles have shared in the Jews' spiritual blessing, then they owe it to share with them, the Jews, their material blessings. So Paul went on to say that he had to feed the poor in Jerusalem before coming to minister in Spain, so that, in his words, when I come to you, I will come in the full measure of the blessing of Messiah. If I want the full measure of Messiah anywhere in the world that I want to minister to, I have to start right here in Israel. How can I help with this? How can I be a part? And that's when God reminded me of the greenhouses here in Beit Zerah, the house of seed.
Right.
And after explaining to God all the reasons why I can't do that, that's too big for me, that's for somebody else to do, God began working on my heart.
Well, we do feel that it's God's timing. There's a time, you know, the Bible says a time to plant, a time to reap. It's the time to plant. It's the time to think forward, to prepare these crops which will bless the hungry in time of need. I mean, literally immediately there are seeds that we can plant and begin to harvest, but truly the long-term maintenance of those things is what we're calling forth those friends to begin to help to maintain the water, maintain the cultivation of this vision and this seed. Those trees need maintenance, they need water. That's very expensive in this area.
It is a miracle, simply a miracle, that God is providing greenhouses, land for greenhouses where food can be produced instantly. I mean, almost instantly. Trees with fruit hanging on them. All we have to do is water them and start feeding people with them. He called us to give our first fruits. And that's why we're calling this Project First Fruits.
Wow.
God has opened a door of great opportunity for all of us. This is a project that anyone can be a part of. And know that when you bless Israel, God will bless you. You can give financially and tap into the blessing of God financially, or you can come here personally and serve in the land side by side with the Jewish community,
Yes.
sharing the love of Messiah.
I love when Romans talks about that olive tree where there's both Jew and non-Jew together in the olive tree. Hey, we're talking about putting actual olive tree roots down. When it talks about prophetically, the children of Israel will dwell in peace under their vine, under their fig tree. We're talking about actual vines, actual fig trees.
Yes.
When it talks about the land resurrecting with the citrus, well, hey, we're talking about actual, spiritually, but putting a practical application in that. And that's what I love. We are talking about 365 days a year, an ongoing partnership of agriculture here in the Galilee for the kingdom purposes.
You can be a part by helping us plant a new tree and nurturing that tree till it comes up and it's going to be producing fruit. We're talking using state-of-the-art greenhouses, hydroponics, that's going to use 80% less water. And believe me, here in the desert, here in Israel, water is very important and very expensive. So we can plant these vegetables. They will be growing at twice the rate and producing food for the hungry. You may want to give a one-time offering and just say, hey, I want to be a part of building that greenhouse. I want to be a part of that irrigation system that's going to be put in the ground. So you may want to come personally and serve right here in the land. We have facilities to house you at a very low rate in the heart of the Galilee with breathtaking views overlooking the Jordan River and a bike ride away from the Sea of Galilee. Lastly, we can use all your prayers.
Well, agriculture is about long-term, faithful maintenance. Not only the initial pioneering, but the long-term faithfulness. I would encourage anyone who feels on their heart to say, I'm going to partner with this on an ongoing basis.
Yes.
That will be the power behind long-term agriculture.
Let's get planting.